Welcome to the Scott Townsend Show, brought to you by Dietzo Man Productions.
Hey, this is Scott Townsend, and you're listening to the Scott Townsend Show. And today I have with me author, business owner, father, husband, all-around great guy, Ken Rusk. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Scott. I appreciate it.
You know, your book, which we'll be talking about today, BlueCollar Cash, it's kind of like a manifesto for the working man, and a great argument. And I wish I had the actual book, but your agent or publicist or Allison was kind enough to send me the PDF version. So that's what your book looks like in PDF right there. And so that was a lot of fun getting through, and I really enjoyed that. So why did you write the book? We'll start with the general there. Why write the book, BlueCollar Cash?
Well, you know, for me, I'm in a business that is a ditch digging business. I've been actually doing this since I was 15 years old, and I kind of grew within the company, and that's a whole story in itself. But I started to recognize that we grew from 6 people 30 some years ago to 200. And that required us to do a lot of hiring. Obviously, we do a lot of hiring, and ours is a tough, dirty business. It's dump trucks and gravel and buckets of tar and digging holes and water and all that kind of stuff. So I had to create or find a way to create an attractive culture so people would want to work within our organization. So we were constantly reinventing what it was like to work here and offering things that would make people want to stay. And I think one of the key things for us was we discovered that if you put people in charge of their own future and they felt like they were in control of that, they would stay and they would work really hard and they would drive your company further than you could drive it all by yourself. So the more I did this involuntary life coaching, if you will, the more I had these success stories coming around. And people said to me, you know, Ken, you got to get this story beyond the 4 walls of your company. And it was funny because at that time, I was also kind of writing a letter to my daughter, who was suffering from cancer at the time. She's fine now, thank God. But I was writing a letter to her about what I thought was really important. And the words comfort, peace, and freedom kept coming back into my mind. So it kind of was a confluence of all those things at the same time. And finally, my wife, Nancy, said, you know, you need to write this down and see where it goes. And here we are 80,000 words later, and we've got a book out there. So
let's jump onto that comfort, peace, freedom concept, the triangle there. I found the definitions of a couple of the words interesting. When I think of comfort, sometimes people will say that word in a negative light, like you don't want to, don't get comfortable. The only constant is change. Don't rest on your laurels. But you talk about comfort in kind of a different way. And so I'll kick that over to you. Talk about comfort, peace, and freedom, and what you meant by that.
Well, first off, one of the things that we try to do is we try to get people to visualize what they want their future to look like, because, this is controversial, but sometimes I believe that it's not so important what you do for a living as it is what you do with what you do for a living. And what I mean by that is, what exactly are you doing with the money that you earn, the time that you spend, and your free time and your give back time, your charity time, all the things that make you a whole person. So we spend a lot of time getting people to actually write down. In fact, we use crayons and cardboard, and we actually get them to write down.
That was going to be my next question.
Perfect. Yeah, we get them to write down what their version of comfort, peace, and freedom is, because I believe that is really our ultimate goal. And those words work kind of in a triangle form, meaning one is kind of dependent upon the other. And for us, what we found was when people started to visualize what they wanted out of their life, then they could make different occupational choices. And they could find ways to seek the level that they wanted to seek. And just, you have to remember that not everyone is going to, their world is all about mega yachts and McMansions and 15 cars. I mean, if you're going after that, fine. But some people, they just have a vision of how they want their life to live and what what a comfort state of mind would be there. And what a peaceful state of mind would be if I achieved this level of life. And therefore I have a whole lot of mental freedom based on the fact that I've created those things. And once you do that, I think you've beat 99% of the people on the planet.
I liked what you said in the book about being comfortable in your own skin, being your own person, being comfortable with who you are, not trying to be something that someone else thinks you need to be. Or a lot of us feel like we need to live up to other people's expectations.
Absolutely.
And you're definitely not comfortable in that situation. But once you find your groove, your path, and a lot of what you talk about in the book is college, not college. And I went the college route and probably didn't need to do that, looking back on it. But I think it's almost, I don't know, I think it's almost criminal the way kids are saddled with debt these days, thinking that they, even when you're in mid school, junior high, people start asking you, so what school are you going to go to?
Right.
They start conditioning you to form an answer. And so you feel, as a kid, you feel like you've got to come up with an answer. And you never hear them say, well, I want to be a plumber, or I want to be a electrician. You don't hear that. It's a shame.
Well, my daughter, you're exactly right. My daughter came home and she was 15 years of age and from high school, and said, hey, they want to know what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I said, but you're 15. How could you possibly know that? And they're talking about, well, they're doing this college prep thing. And I started looking at it, and all of a sudden these high schools, they all started calling themselves college prep schools. And I thought, well, wait a minute, that can't be possible, because, for example, we used to have shop class in the 70s and 80s, and even before that, obviously. And that just went away, and they replaced those rooms with computers. And, I never really thought that should be a binary choice, one or the other. Obviously, computers are important. We need to learn those things. But it eliminated millions of kids from discovering, accidentally even, shopping or shop class welding, electrician, woodworking, mechanics, home economics, all those kinds of things. And then if you pair that up with, now instead of kids building tree forts in their backyard with hammers and nails and wood, they're building them on their computer screens. I mean, it just isn't the same thing. So it's almost like this confluence of that event happening, along with this shift, this pendulum shift towards, man, you got to go to college or you're less than. And it's created this almost stigma towards blue collar work, which is crazy, because if there's 165 million people working in the United States at any one time, about half of them are doing something with their hands. So who's going to fix our bridges, and who's going to build our buildings, and who's going to do all these things if everyone goes and gets a degree, if we oversupply the economy with nondescript degrees? So it's just a theory I have, that I think that we really need to take a look at where we're going and how did we get here.
It's a shame, yeah, that the kids are herded toward. And the other thing too is there is a place for the college. I mean, I don't want my surgeon looking at a YouTube video on how to fix a knee before he cuts into my knee, And so there's a place for that, for sure. But I think a lot of kids, myself included, were probably didn't have any idea of what they wanted to do. And your parents tell you you're going to college, and so that's what you do. But I don't regret it so much. But I see kids these days, and I hear the astronomical numbers of debt that they're saddled under. What'd you say? The average payment is like $351 a month for. That's the average. That's low end.
And here's the thing, and to get back to what you just said, I use that analogy a lot. I'm not an anti-college guy. I mean, I'm a golfer. So if you're going to operate on my shoulder, I need you to know everything you need to know about that. Or if you're going to teach people, or you're going to manage money or design a building, you need to do that. But it was never designed for everybody to begin with. And somehow we've shifted to that place. Now, if you start thinking about this fact, 40% of kids go to college without any idea why they're going. And yet 30% of them graduate and never use the degree that they studied for. and yet you have all this debt being piled on. So all I'm saying is, if you're one of those people who you're just going to college because someone said you have to, or your teacher said you have to, or your parents, or, you know, society in general, and you're not doing much better than just getting really good at beer pong, you really need to think about that. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with beer pong, but you really need to think about why you're going there. If you're just going for some nondescript business degree, that you're going to pile up a bunch of debt and not have any idea what your end game is. You know what I mean?
Right. So now we've got this, because everybody thinks they have to go to college. And one of the points of your book is that there's a huge deficit now of folks that can come to our house and fix the wiring and frame up a house, or, you know, pour cement or lay foundations and stuff like that. So I think this book needs to go to all the kids before they think about going to college, and realize there's an opportunity out there immediately with some pretty good income.
You know, if you look at some of the, I kind of call this the $400,000 swing, because if you think about going to a college that costs you $40,000 to $50,000 a year, and you do that for 4 years, you know, that's $200,000 by the time you're done. Hopefully you didn't have to borrow all that, but if you did, I mean, that's what you're left with. Now, conversely, to your point, supply and demand is an amazingly powerful force. So if we're oversupplying college degrees, and that means we're undersupplying, you know, contractors, people willing to work with their hands. For every 5 electricians that are retiring today, only 1 comes online. So supply and demand is going to catch up to that real fast. And believe me, that's where all the money's going. Mm-hmm. So now if you think of someone who right out of school becomes an apprentice to somebody and starts earning $40,000 or $50,000 a year, in the same 4-year period of time, they've earned $200,000 to their asset base to the other person who's 200 behind. So there's a $400,000 swing there. And that could mean a house, that could mean your 401k funded, that could mean a car. I mean, you can get a head start on your life if you just are willing to look at what your options are besides just the automatic, you know, path that
you're getting paid, and you're getting paid and learning a skill at the same time. So it's
exactly.
I was reading your book last night, going over the 10,000 hour rule. Malcolm Gladwell talked about mastering some concept or skill, and the concept that 10,000 hours is kind of where it needs to be, you know, to be proficient. So I texted my son and I said, how long have you worked at where he works right now? He's a video editor and videographer and video editor. And he said, since 2012. I said, okay, so that's 8 years, 40-hour. I ran the math that you were writing in the book. I said, do you realize that you're into this for 16,000 hours? You're like 6,000 hours way past the 10,000 hour rule. Right. I said, just let that sink in for a little bit, and we'll talk tomorrow. But I think that's really cool that kids need to realize that they could really be learning something that they can take with them for a very long time and earn a very decent living. More than decent.
And here's the other thing. You know, as a business owner myself that hires people, when you find someone that's willing to look you in the eye and shake your hand, God forbid, be there early, you're like, okay, I'm going to hang on to this guy. Like, I'm not letting him go for anything.
Right.
So the point of me saying that is, in this day and age, if you hook yourself up to a really awesome, experienced contractor, that gal or that guy is going to give you everything they have as quickly and as most concentrated form as they can possibly do, because you're so hard to find. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it might be 6,000 hours before you master something that used to take 10. Mm-hmm. And all I can say is, you know, if you can put yourself in a position, I mean, some of these guys, some of these finish carpenters are making $50 an hour. Okay. They're making as much as, you know, early on family doctors are making, and without the debt and all the school. So you know, I know a gal that she was going after a 2-year degree and it really wasn't her thing. And she just said, I'm going to finish it because I'm supposed to. And she had to take one more class. It was an elective. And her friend said, why don't you take welding? I took it by accident. I fell in love with it. It was fun. You know, it was a good class. So she did that. Now she's standing on top of 300-foot windmills in Ohio. Yeah. And she's making $125,000 a year as a welder, as a millwright. And she had no intention, Scott, of ever doing this. But so awesome. It just goes to show you what's possible if you just open your mind and, you know, open your eyes to again, what's possible out there.
You were talking in the book about the lady that operates a crane loading and unloading trains, was it, or something? And she does it from she's not in the crane itself. She's off in some other location in an office with joysticks and a keyboard, and I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah, she does. She unloads boats, those big containers. And so she's up in that box and moving them around, but she's really doing it with a joystick. And it's a really cool story. I love hearing stories of gals. There's another gal in town who her father was in the dump truck, the gravel hauling business. And, you know, that was like a guy's job, you know. And so she would show up and, you know, the guys would make fun of her or whatever when she was younger. And finally, she came in one day and she said, I'm going to go to the job site. She put the hard hat on, went out there. And, of course, you know, no one took her seriously. And then after a while, she started making some pretty smart moves. And now this gal, who is probably 5'1", 120 pounds, has 12 huge Kenworth dump trucks. And she has her own business hauling gravel all over the place. And she has the respect of everyone in the industry. And I just love those stories because she just said, I'm going to give this a shot. I mean, no limits. Okay. I'm just going to go after it and see where it goes. And now she's got a great business for herself.
That's awesome. Moving on through the book, you were talking about some stories about time and time management and realizing, being present and in the moment. And can you tell us a story about the life clock that someone gave you for Christmas or something like that?
Yeah, this was an amazing time. You know, it was one of those times. This is about this time of year, actually, when our business slows down a little bit. And this was a particularly tough year. It was early on. And my staff decided to buy me this life clock. And I literally thought, wow, this is the coolest thing in the world. And I plugged it in and did my calculations. And my life started spinning backwards by the second, by the minute, by the hour. And after a while, I mean, I became this super efficient time management person because I didn't want to waste time on things that, you know, why did I have that conversation? I could have been doing this. And why am I spending time on this when I could be doing that? So in the beginning, it was a fantastic lesson in time management and how to work your life. And then after a while, I started getting annoyed by this thing because it was chewing up too much of my life. I'd come back from a long weekend and there'd be a couple days missing. And so I ended up just destroying this thing and throwing it into the dumpster. But I'll tell you what, I encourage anybody to do this. It will change how you think about what you spend your time on. And it can only make you more efficient, which obviously should make you more profitable in whatever you do in your world. So funny story.
Later on in the book, you also talk about as a blue collar worker, finding your superpower. Can you explain that just a little bit? What did you mean by that?
Well, I think you have to sit down and you have to start the sentence with who but you. Who but you knows what you're good at? Who but you knows what you're passionate about? Who but you knows what you're really meant to be? Okay. And if you start to answer those questions, you're going to start to get to where your superpower is. You know, it could be that first off, you're accepting of who you are and you're going to be the best version of who you are, because when that happens, the world is better off for it. And then you start to think of things like, okay, so how can I give back? What's important to me? What difference can I make in this world? What can I teach somebody else? How can I do one thing today where if I'm in contact with someone and we're done, they leave better off for having been in contact with me? I think those are very important things to be aware of, because I can tell you that we do a lot of charity work here, and there is just nothing more powerful, Scott, than to be able to give back in a way that you're not just writing checks, you're actually involved in what's happening. And you begin to figure out why you were put on this earth when you get involved in some of those things. So I think finding your superpower is something that people at least ought to try to focus on, especially this time of year, because everyone could use it.
That's a good point. And I remember Kevin Kelly said, he said, don't be the best, be the only. And I thought that was pretty good. It's kind of what backs up what you said. And I think the superpower for this podcast, this vidcast, I thought about that when I first started this. I'd been laid off from a job, and I was really kind of irritated, bitter about it, mad, you know? Yeah. And I thought to myself, Zig Ziglar used to say, and I used to buy into well, I still do, but Zig Ziglar used to say, to get what you want, help enough other people get what they want, or something like that. And then so after that, I thought, that's a bunch of hooey. I've been busting my tail trying to help make other people's dreams come true. And they say sayonara. So because of COVID and oil prices and all that stuff earlier this year. So I thought, I love doing podcasts and vidcasts, any kind of media. So I thought I'll just do my own. I'll just start my own. And I'm not going to wait for someone to choose me. I'll choose myself, and I'll just, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight people. I'm going to try to, like this right now, give you the time to promote what it is that you believe in, help others. And so I'm kind of back into the camp of helping enough people get what they want, and I'll get what I want. And I think I'll be doing this for a long time because I love doing it.
Well, I can tell you, when you mentioned Zig Ziglar, I cracked a smile because I actually went to see him back in 1987 in Toledo, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
He always used to talk about his wife. He called her the redhead.
Yeah.
And, it was fun. I mean, we enjoyed his conversations and his teachings. I actually took what you just said and I twisted a little bit. I've been saying to my staff here at the office for a long time, I can't get what I want, nor can my company get what it wants until all of you get what you want first. And I can tell you, for any business owners that are out there, the old days of I am boss, you are employee, those days are gone. Okay. We live in a world now of people saying, hey, what's in it for me to work there, Ken? Okay. Because I can job shop you all day long with the supply and demand that we have going on. So the minute you let go of being I am boss, okay, and you get wholly interested in what your people want for themselves, your company is going to take off like you have never imagined. Because once someone realizes that they can get what they want with and through the vehicle you call your company, they can control their input and their output and their income. They're going to basically tell you, thanks for the training, Ken. Now get out of my way and let me go do it. And all you have to do is drop fertilizer on that every couple of months. And I can tell you, it's an amazing thing to have a whole group of collective people just kicking it like that. And your company will go a lot further than you can go take it on your own. I assure you of that.
Oh, that's awesome. I totally believe that. And you're absolutely right. I totally believe that. So to get the book, Blue Collar Cash, you can find Blue Collar Cash wherever books are sold, Amazon, online, wherever.
Yeah, you can go to Amazon and Indie Books and Apple Books and all those places. There's actually a link on kenrusk.com. And one thing I wanted to mention, if I could, I've been sponsoring Make-A-Wish for 20 years now. And I give away a wish every single year. And we get heavily involved in the family. We don't just pay for it. We meet them beforehand. We see what they're doing, and then we meet them afterwards, and we stay with them for a while. I've been doing commercials with the kids for years. This year, I'm trying to pull something off here. So all of the proceeds from my book are going towards Make-A-Wish. And what I'm trying to do is get as many wishes as I can. I'm trying to do multiple wishes in 1 year instead of just one. So I'm trying to get 4 or 5 going. And so anyone that buys the book, just know that not only are you getting some great information for you or for a friend or maybe for a gift, you can knock one of your gifts off the list.
Right.
But you're also going to help Make-A-Wish at the same time. So I would appreciate you going out and supporting the book and knowing that you're helping a child that definitely needs some help this time of year.
Absolutely. You can count me in on one of those books. So like I said, anybody out there watching, listening, if you have, this book is good for, I don't care if you're 50 years old or 20 years old. There's a lot of good stuff in here about, following your own dreams, and it's never too late. Ken has some great, insight, wisdom, and how-tos in this book about how to go about doing that from personal experience. And Christmas time's a great time. It's coming up. Birthdays, anniversaries. Blue Collar Cash is the name of the book. I'll put up a picture of the cover here while we're talking. Ken, thanks a lot for stopping by. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate you helping make this dream come true. Yeah,
happy holidays. And again, congratulations on your podcast. I wish you all the best with it.
All right. Well, for Ken Rusk, this is Scott Townsend. Thanks for joining the Scott Townsend Show. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.
The Scott Townsend Show is a Deetso Man production. For more episodes, visit the Scott Townsend Show YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
The Scott Townsend Show.